Welcome back to Manchild Motorsports. This is Papa Pugsley here. We're ready to finish the second half of the first episode of Garage Wars tonight. First up, we got a little bit of cleanup from last week's race. So in the top 10, Mrs. Triz ended up making it on number 6. I looked at the time wrong. It's actually 4.7468, which puts her at the number 6 spot. So before we go over the point, another little cleanup here. Now we had Scotty 1 and Scotty 2. Now we have Scotty and Nickel. So that'll be the names for those. So we won't have Scotty 1, Scotty 2 anymore. So we can see the points going through here. Let's just kind of focus on the team points for right now. So Manchild Motorsports with 7, Puff with 8, J&J with 4, Nickel with 5, Shady Valley with 9, and then Skull Farrell Racing with 5. Okay, a quick recap on the rules. So winning one race gives you 2 points. Finishing a race gives you 1 point. DNF will be 0. Double DNF is a restart. So I was talking with Shady Valley the other night, and we were talking about, we won't do it the first episode, but start the second episode, we're going to add a bonus point for a sweep. So if you win the first 2 races, you're going to get some sort of bonus. I haven't figured out the amount yet, but you'll get a bonus because right now you actually get penalized as far as points if you only go 2 races instead of 3. So that will be a change coming in the next episode. Let's go ahead and look at the matchups for round 2. So we'll have Mrs. Triz going up against Twinkie Jake. Little Triz will be going up against Nickel. Puff will be going up against AJ. So here's a quick rundown of who is driving what car and for what team. Okay, let's get right into the racing. So we got Mrs. Triz on the inside, Twinkie Jake on the outside. Let's race. Coming down, Mrs. Triz takes early lead coming around the campers. They're staying tight coming all the way through. Twinkie Jake's right on the tail. Flipped around, and Mrs. Triz is in for the win, 5.1279. And so with that, Mrs. Triz has 2, Twinkie Jake has 1. Let's go ahead and get to the next lap. We got Twinkie Jake on the inside. Mrs. Triz is on the outside. Let's race. Coming down, they're staying pretty even. Looks like Twinkie Jake's starting to pull. Looks like Mrs. Triz has some issues up there by the campers. So it's Twinkie Jake by himself, sliding around. Is he gonna make it? Yeah, he makes it. 5.4364. Let's see what happened to Mrs. Triz. Well, there she is, turned over by the campers. So with that win, Twinkie Jake gets 2. Mrs. Triz didn't finish, so she gets 0. So now she had the faster time, so Mrs. Triz is in the inside lane. Twinkie Jake's in the outside lane. Starting down, coming around. Mrs. Triz takes the early lead. Twinkie Jake's coming around. Mrs. Triz still in the lead coming through, and she's going to take the win at 5.1474. Mrs. Triz will be moving on with 2 wins, so both of them score 4 points each. Okay, I need Shady Valley to let me know how to say the name correctly. My wife told me I'm saying it wrong. So is it number 1, Lili, or number 2, Lili? So go ahead and send me a message if it's number 1 or number 2 so I can say it right the rest of the time. Sorry about that. So for now, I'm going to go with Lili. So Lili Triz is on the inside. Nichols is on the outside. Let's race. So start off pretty even. Looks like Lili's getting out ahead there. Nichols coming in, trying to challenge for the lead. Lili puts on a good block, and she's in for the win. 5.8157. Okay, so Lili Triz gets 2, Nickel gets 1. Now Nickel will be starting on the inside lane. Lili's on the outside lane. Let's race. Nickel takes off to the early lead. Looks like Lili had problems up there by the campers. So it's going to be Nickel all by himself coming down. He's going to be in for the win. 5.2207. Let's see what happened to Lily. Yep, another one up in the campers. So Nickel will get 2 points. Lily will get 0 for the DNF. So Nickel had the faster times. We'll be on the inside lane. Lily will be on the outside lane. Let's race. Coming down, Nickel's going to pull off to an early lead coming around the campers. Looks like Lily's trying to make up some time. Coming up, it's going to be a close finish, but it looks like Nickel made it 5.1316. So Nickel ended up with a total of 5 points. Lily Triz with 3 points. So for the last race of the second round, we got Puff on the inside lane. AJ will be on the outside lane. Let's race. Coming down, looks like Puff's gonna take the early lead. Gonna hold a steady lead. Looks like AJ had problems there in Cliff Corner. Puff's in for the win, 4.9909. Let's take a look and see where AJ ended up at. Yep, on our roof there in Cliff Corner. Okay, Puff has 2, AJ has 1. This time around, AJ's going to be on the inside, Puff's going to be on the outside. Let's race. Staying pretty even. AJ's got a slight lead. Puff's coming up right behind. AJ's keeping the lead coming around. And AJ's in for the win. 5.1828. That ties it up. 1 win apiece. So AJ had 2. Puff had 1. Puff had the faster time, so he'll be starting in the inside lane. AJ will be starting on the outside lane. Let's race. Coming down, looks like Puff's going to take the early lead. Starting to get quite a bit of a lead. AJ's trying to come back there, but doesn't do it. Puff wins with a 4.8872. And Puff will be moving on to the next race. They get 5 points. AJ's team gets 3 points. Let's double check that time. I don't think it's good enough to get on top 10. Let's just make sure. Nope, not quite good enough to get on the list. I have a 4.8522. So here's what our bracket looks like for round 3. So we got Mrs. Triz going up with a Nickel. We got Puff going up against a random draw. So let's find out who that random draw is. So it'll be AJ taking on Puff for the last round, which will be a repeat from round 2. So let's see if AJ can do any better against Puff this time. Okay, to start round 3, we're going to have Mrs. Triz in the inside lane. Nickel's going to be in the outside lane. Let's race. Coming down, they're staying pretty even on the first corner. Mrs. Triz going to pull up to the lead. Nickel's staying right behind her. And it looks like it's going to be Mrs. Triz is going to be in for the win. 4.9902. So Mrs. Triz ended up with 2. Nickel ended up with 1. So this time around, Nickel's going to be in the inside lane. Mrs. Triz is going to be in the outside lane. Let's race. It looks like Nickel's taking a little bit of a lead here. Mrs. Triz is right on him, going the whole way down, coming into the end, and Nickel's in for the win with a 5.3148. So that ties it up now. Nickel had 2 on that. Mrs. Triz had 1. Mrs. Triz had the faster time, so she's going to be starting on the inside lane. And Nickel will be in the outside lane. Let's race. Going down, Mrs. Triz gets off to a good lead coming around the campers, opening up the gap quite a bit there down the back straightaway. And looks like it's going to be in for the win for Mrs. Triz, 4.9753. Looks like Mrs. Triz is going to be moving on to the finals. 5 and 4 there for the points. Okay, it's time for a rematch between Puff and AJ. Puff will be on the inside. AJ is going to be on the outside lane. Let's race. Coming down, Puff's going to get off to an early lead, coming around the campers, widen the gap a little bit. AJ's trying to keep up, but it's not going to be able to. Puff's going to be in for the win, 4.8362. And with that, Puff will take the first 2 points in this lap. Let's check that time against the top scorers. Looks like Puff is going to come in just underneath himself there at number 8. That's the second car now Puff has in the top 10. 3 if you include Twinkie Jake's car there too. Okay, this time around AJ's going to be in the inside lane, Puff is going to be in the outside lane. Let's race. AJ's off to an early lead, coming around the campers, trying to hold that lead. Puff's coming on strong, Puff's trying to pass, but AJ's blocking, not be able to get a pass. AJ's in for the win. 4.9193. Okay, AJ was able to tie it up with Puff. 1 win apiece. So now Puff is going to be on the inside lane because he had the faster of the 2 times. AJ will take the outside lane again. Looks like Puff's going to pull away right away. AJ's trying to catch up, but Puff keeps on opening up the gap there. And looks like it's going to be Puff in for the win. 4.7194, another fast time. Looks like it was a repeat of the last round, so Puff will be moving on to the finals. He had a score of 5, AJ had a score of 4. Now let's go ahead and take a look at that time. Looks like he's going to move that car up on the list right below Daddy G at number 6. So he moved it up the list a little bit higher. Okay, looks like it'll be Mrs. Triz up against Puff in the finals. Let's see how this pans out. For the final race, it's going to be Mrs. Triz in the inside lane to start off with, and Puff will be in the outside lane. Let's race. Mrs. Triz is getting a small lead off the campers there. Open up the gap a little bit. Puff's coming back and trying to get it. Slides out a little bit. Let's get Mrs. Triz in for the win. 4.9212. Mrs. Triz got 2 points off of that. Puff got 1. So a reminder, the finals is a 5-lap race. Whoever has the fastest lap time out of the first 2 races gets the inside lane, start with lap 3, and we'll just rotate the rest of the time out after that. Now we have Puff in the inside lane. Mrs. Triz is going to be in the outside lane. Let's race. Puff pulls ahead to a good lead coming around the corners, trying to widen the gap a little bit, and Mrs. Triz is staying right on there, and it's going to be Puff in for the win. 4.9925. So Puff was able to tie it up, but Mrs. Triz had the faster time, so she's get the inside lane advantage. So we have Mrs. Triz in the inside, Puff is in the outside. Let's race. Okay, Mrs. Triz taking the lead, start off with, spinning around. Puff tried to pass, wasn't able to make it. She's coming in reverse for the win, 5.2059. All right, Mrs. Triz got that one. Looks like they keep on going back and forth here. So this lap here, we got Puff on the inside lane. Mrs. Triz is giving the outside lane. Let's race. Puff's going to pull ahead right away around the campers, staying right close to each other there. Mrs. Triz is right on his tail. Puff's starting to pull away a little bit, 4.9682. All right, it's all tied up. 2 wins apiece. This is the final lap. Mrs. Triz on the inside, Puff is on the outside. Let's race. Staying even around the first corner. Mrs. Triz has got a little bit of a lead coming out of the campers. Puff's right on her tail coming around that last corner. And looks like it was Mrs. Triz in for the win for the final. Mrs. Triz was able to win that. So for points, we have Mrs. Triz with 8, Puff with 7. So our first episode 1 Garage Wars winner is Mrs. Triz. So let's take a closer look at that car there. Ended up being victorious over everybody tonight. Let's go ahead and see how the points wrapped up. Okay, at the end of episode 1 here, we have a tie for the points leader between Puff's Racing and Shady Valley's Race Team. So they both have 29. You can sit there and go through the different points here. We have quite a wide range here. Obviously, my team didn't do very good. Hopefully, we'll come back around. It all is going to probably end up on that random draw at the beginning on how a lot of this ends up. Now I have a couple announcements to make. We still have room for people to sign up for both the Mustang Mayhem and the Manchild Motorsports Subaru Scramble. So the Mustang Mayhem, you sign up on Merch by Meekin's Facebook page. The Subaru Scramble is on Redline Derby. So Garage Wars, Mustang Mayhem, and Subaru Scramble will be the last races that will be on this track. My wife upgraded my room. I get to move to a larger room in the house, so I'm starting construction on a new, larger, more camera-friendly track. So these will be the last 3 events on this track. Hopefully we won't have much delay and we'll be able to go right into the new track here in the next year. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe.